Joining me now to discuss government responses to pollution is Daniel Fiorino. He's the director of the Center for Environmental Policy at American University. And Daniel, I was just trying to look through the history, to try and measure this. And of course, the killer smog in London back in 1952, where you could only see about this far, it was so bad, about 4,000 people lost their lives in December of that year. So major cities have had this problem dating back to the 50s. There are no real easy fixes, are there?
Well, there aren't easy fixes, but there are fixes. I think, we've been hearing about China's rapid economic growth, and it's a remarkable story, but there is another side to growth, and that is that you have more pollution, air pollution, water pollution, and so on. So as you have more vehicles, you have more industrial activity, you have to pay attention to that side of it. And the US, Great Britain, a lot of the European countries eventually recognized that was an issue, and so it's a process you go through. So now the challenge is to reconcile economic growth with the need to protect public health against air and water pollution.
I grew up in Southern California, and I can remember swimming and coming out of the pool gasping for air, and you couldn't catch your breath. The smog was so bad. But they really tackled it. They went after, as far as emissions in cars, they went after factories. Are there certain things that China should be doing now to alleviate this problem in the future? Yeah, certainly.
There are a number of things that you can do. I mean, technology offers many possible solutions. Technology involves costs, of course, so that's the other side of it. Certainly, I think the auto sales in China have doubled in the last 4 years, so vehicles are putting a lot more stress on the environment. So there are technologies that you can use for that. A lot of the issue is fuels. You can look at the content of fuels, sulfur content and so on, and regulate that. And you also need to regulate on an ongoing basis and require technology and industrial activity.
I was talking about London in 1952. I was also looking at recent examples in Tehran just a month ago. The health minister was advising the people in the city to flee. They had such a serious problem. So this is kind of a major issue that's happening in a lot of major urban areas in the country. And again, I think it gets back to this explosion of growth, more cars out there. Do you think that this is going to bring the world kind of closer together in terms of trying to tackle this from a world perspective? Because that smog's going all over the place, isn't it?
Well, it's mostly a local health issue. I mean, carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases are much more global, and so that may help bring the world together. But there's certainly a lot that the developed countries can do with other countries to provide the kind of technology and expertise to deal with these kinds of issues. But it takes a commitment from government. And it's very interesting that a lot of research shows that when countries deal with these kinds of issues, it's because democracy works in the sense that people protest, they have information, and they express views. So it'll be very interesting in some of these rapidly growing countries to see if that side of the equation will come into play and will put pressure on the government to deal with these issues.
Can you talk a little bit about topography? I know growing up in LA, it's a basin, and it just seems to hang there, and it really takes the winds. Is Beijing kind of suffering from the same sort of thing?
I think there is something of a basin effect in Beijing, like in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not well suited for particularly ozone pollution because of the basin, because of the warm weather and all the industrial activity. And Beijing may share some of those problems. And I think what we saw this weekend was a spike in particulates and ozone levels, which caused a big problem. And you noted, well, that seems to be fading now, but the basic problem won't go away, so it's still there.
Right now, it's just hope for some wind, but long term, they've got to look at solutions.
For temporary relief, yes, some aspirin, but it's not really getting at the basic cause of the problem.
All right, Daniel, thanks so much for coming in. Certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.